your guide to budget plans for couples. You may have mastered budgeting for yourself at some moment in your life. However, things will definitely get more complicated when you start sharing finances with a spouse. Budgeting for couples may not be easy, but it's crucial to approach the way you handle money as a team, especially if you're living together or are going to be married. Although I've been married for some years, my spouse and I only lately started seeing eye to eye on this matter. And it's not for a want of effort. The basic reality is this: creating a budget is a process. Are you and your spouse ready to tackle budgeting for couples? Here are some recommendations to help you get started, separated down by what phase your relationship is in. Phase 1, budgeting for new couples. Phase 2, cohabitation might be imminent. Phase 3, committing for life. Plus, remember that life happens in seasons. Phase 1, budgeting for new couples. The way you talk about money together will alter as your relationship matures. Budgeting for unmarried couples normally doesn't include a merging of finances, but you might share some expenses. And when your relationship develops more serious, it's vital to start broaching the topic of money. Here are 3 ideas for the early going. 1. Start slowly. 2. Get the uncomfortable money admissions out of the way. 3. Keep an open mind. 1. Start slowly. Feel each other out, as making a budget requires more than a few of chats. Treat this as a getting to know each other process, one that could even be pleasurable if you let it. Not ready to talk about precise numbers. Figure out what your relationship with money is like. If you're not sure, a wonderful approach to find out is by chatting to your spouse. Try word association, or talk about what your family's financial position was like while you were growing up. Getting to know this about yourself and each other might pave the road to constructive teamwork when you create a budget later. You'll be able to work with more than simply numbers. You'll understand why you have the behaviors, sentiments, and thoughts you have regarding money. 2. Get the uncomfortable money admissions out of the way. The longer you go without addressing the money confessions you're terrified of, the tougher it will be. Now that you're warming up to money chats together, get those hard topics out of the way. It's not easy to admit to having student loan or credit card debt, or not having a savings account. But these things don't make up the fabric of who you are. They are circumstances in your life, and, if you work hard at them, they won't be in your future for very long. If you really can't face the prospect of exposing the money skeletons in your closet, this could be a trigger for change. Part of the concern could be that you don't have a plan for this money issue yet. If you sit down and devise a plan, then you can make the money confession and boldly state, "I'm doing something about it." On the flip side, putting this up for conversation provides an opportunity for you to collaborate together on a plan. 3. Keep an open mind. Just like you wouldn't want your partner to judge you for your money confessions, you shouldn't judge them for theirs. Be as open and responsive to your spouse as you want them to be in return. Additionally, keep in mind that you're not married yet. If your partner doesn't have a strategy, be there for emotional and strategic support. There's no need to panic out over their money situation because it's not yet yours. By the time you get truly serious and develop a budget together, the entire scenario can appear different. Phase 2, cohabitation might be imminent. Are things starting to heat up in your relationship? Have there been talks of engagement or moving in together? If so, then it's time to get down to numbers. Even if you don't get married, living in with someone brings legal duties that you should be ready for. Here's something to consider. 1. Discuss how you'll split rent and bills. 2. Before you sign a lease, review your finances. 3. Pay your debts collectively. 1. Discuss how you'll split rent and bills. If you're apartment searching, then it's important to make a budget for the apartment. Decide on the maximum you're ready to pay for rent. How much are both of you comfortable paying? How do you want to split it up? I recall doing this with my now husband and finding out that our comfort levels were significantly different. I wanted to spend 20% less on rent than his amount, but he needed specific accommodations that couldn't fit into my. While I was quite adamant at first, we ultimately determined the proper compromise was to go with his number but share the rent 75/25. This was quite hard for me. As an independent woman who'd been making her own way for 28 years, I wasn't happy about paying less. I believed that costs should be 50/50 until we made a permanent commitment and a decision to pool our money together. I know I'm not alone here. Cara Perez, founder of financial literacy blog for women, Bravely Go, talks about how she and her boyfriend dealt through a similar circumstance. He earns more than she does, especially since she recently launched her own business. My boyfriend making so much more than me does chafe at me, Perez added. I've always been autonomous and I work my butt off as a freelancer. We talked a lot about common goals and juggling both money and domestic duties. Ultimately, we decided to split rent 50/50 and have him pay 70% of utilities and internet. Whatever you do, make a budget for the apartment before you actively hunt for one. Because once you see a place and fall in love with it, this might be a lot difficult to accomplish. 2. Before you sign a lease, review your finances. Remember the money confessions part above. Well, if you didn't do it early on, do it now. Do not enter a formal arrangement with financial ramifications unless you know what the other person signing the paper can or can't do. Ask your partner directly whether they have debt, and be willing to answer the same question. Ask about charged-off accounts, collections, credit scores and savings. You wouldn't want to apply for an apartment jointly just to learn that your partner's credit score is too low to pass. And you surely wouldn't want to engage into a lease only to find out that your spouse can't pay. That might be the end of your relationship and your finances. Before you sign the lease, discuss about all the financial aspects, and be willing to confess to your own possible issues. The truth will eventually come out, so make sure it comes out in a way that's productive, not after the fact. 3. Pay your debts collectively. Once you move in together, pay your rent and utilities together. This is wonderful preparation for initiating the regular money dates you should have if you ever combine your funds. Pour yourselves some wine, or take yourselves out on a date. Do anything you can to make it a less daunting experience. As you pay your rent and utilities jointly, utilize it as a moment to talk about your financial anxieties, objectives and immediate issues. This is the time to admit whether it was hard for you to come up with your portion of rent or food, or it could be a fantastic moment to talk about saving or paying off debt. Just keep practicing getting these subjects out in the open as often as possible. It will make it a lot easier to work as a team the longer you do this. Phase 3, committing for life. So far, we've spoken about how to handle budgeting for unmarried couples. But after you're married, engaged or officially committed, it might be time to start talking and behaving as one unit with your finances, just like you do in life. Here are some steps as you create your lives together. 1. Decide how you want to handle your money jointly. 2. Outline your common aims. 3. Find a technique to keep you on the same page. 4. Try a budget app for couples. 1. Decide how you want to handle your money jointly. This is one of the most disputed questions regarding couple money: how to combine your accounts. There are a few ways to approach it. All joint accounts, all distinct accounts, joint accounts and separate accounts. The first two should be fairly obvious. Couples that desire no financial secrets or mystery choose all joint accounts, while couples who want ultimate liberty choose all separate accounts. Why would somebody do a hybrid approach? Usually, it's to retain a joint account for paying significant expenses or saving jointly, while keeping a separate account for daily purchases you don't want to be held accountable for all the time. There's no right or wrong response to which you choose. Just remember that you still need to be on the same page in your money, even if your finances aren't all on the same bank statement. Certified financial advisor Dylan Ross describes the idea of a household spending plan. Just because you have separate accounts and both have your own account, that doesn't mean you can't construct a household spending plan based on the combined amounts, Ross said. According to Ross, this cooperative strategy can be done with or without shared accounts. Combining total sums for the purpose of building a household-level spending plan can help to make sure nothing gets ignored. And because spending plans need to be flexible and may change regularly, having a single plan for the household should be easier to maintain than different budgets, even if you'll continue to maintain separate accounts. 2. Outline your common aims. Once you've decided on the technicalities of your bank accounts, it's important to talk about your joint goals. Here are a few to decide on together: emergency fund, debt payoff, retirement savings, wishlist goods such as a home, car or annual vacation. Then, you'll want to build a budget itself. After you pay all your monthly bills, how much is left over? If you have annual or quarterly bills, it could assist to divide them into their monthly costs and budget for them that way. Then select how to allocate the leftover money. This is where you'll have to make some compromises. Your first priorities aren't always going to be the same, so if you can't decide on the same priorities, split the difference. Apply half amounts to each of your top priorities so both of you are heard and working for something that's important to you. 3. Find a technique to keep you on the same page. Have your spending plan under control. Great. Now you just need an easy way to stay on top of it together. Finance writer Carrie Smith Nicholson tells about the path she and her husband made to get on the same page. One aspect of budgeting that the hubs and I found problematic was being able to handle two persons using debit cards from the same bank account. Nicholson added, I would always have to ask him what a given spending was for or if he got the receipt. This made it stressful and disagreeable on a regular basis. So how did they find a means to relieve their frustration? To streamline things, we decided to use the same credit card and hold a budget meeting every Monday, she said. We now look over the expenses jointly, categorize them accurately and make a payment for that week's credit card balance. This worked so well for Nicholson and her husband that when she was unable to accomplish much after undergoing LASIK surgery, her husband could manage funds for both of them. During the month where I had eye surgery, Ryan was able to take over the budget duties and everything remained moving along smoothly. She stated, "We have one allocated credit card for all our household costs, and no longer have huge difficulties over everyday transactions." 4. Try a budget app for couples. I loved Nicholson's concept for remaining on the same page as her husband in their budget, but I wondered if they found support in technology. We both use Mint and have it downloaded on both of our phones so we can both view the budget categories. Nicholson added, "This helps us stay on the same page every week. If you and your spouse are already attached to your phones, why not utilize that to your advantage?" Budget applications for couples might be a terrific tool to help. If you use a budget app and add all of your credit cards and bank accounts, then you can track your expenses together on any app. But if you're searching for a budgeting app for couples to truly go deep on jointly, Mint and YNAB are two of the most popular budgeting applications out there. Remember, life happens in seasons. So with all this advice, why did it take my husband and me years to get on the same page and commit to budgeting for couples? Because it took us that long to discover that as life goes in seasons, so too do finances. You know, we met when we were in our late 22s, an age in which we'd been used to handling our finances alone with no one else to answer to or compromise with. This proved to be an unexpected challenge. I was rigorous in my money procedures, and he was in his.